In this video, you will learn how to round 2 and 3-digit numbers to the nearest 10 and 100. Step 1 is to identify the digit in the place you are rounding to and circle it. So if you are rounding to the tens place, circle the digit in the tens place, and if you are rounding to the hundreds place, circle the digit in the hundreds place. Step 2 is to go next door and look at the digit to the right of the circled digit. That will tell the circled digit what to do. If the digit to the right is 4 or less, that would be 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, that circled digit is going to stay the same. But if it is 5 or more next door, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, that circled digit is going to go up 1. I like to use the phrase 4 or less, let it rest, 5 or more, add 1 more. Now, after you rounded that circled digit, everything after the circled digit is going to become a 0. Let's practice another one. We're rounding 37 to the nearest 10, so we will circle the tens place. The 3 is in the tens place, so we circle the 3. Step 2 tells us to look next door, so we look at the 7. Now we look for the rounding rule. So 7 would fit in 5 or more, so it tells the circled digit to go up 1. So the circled digit is a 3. If you add 1, it will become a 4. Then step 3 tells us everything after the circled digit becomes a 0. So the 7 becomes a 0. So 37 rounds to 40 when rounding to the nearest 10. Let's practice one more rounding 2-digit numbers to the nearest 10. So we have the number 52 and we're rounding to the nearest 10. So we will circle the tens place, which is the 5. Then we look next door to the right and we have a 2. So the 2 is 4 or less, so it tells the circled digit to stay the same. The circled digit is a 5, so the 5 will stay a 5. Step 3 tells us everything after the circled digit becomes a 0, so the 2 becomes a 0. So 52, rounded to the nearest 10, is 50. Now let's learn how to round to the nearest 100. So we have a 3-digit number and we're rounding to the nearest 100. So step 1 tells us to circle the digit in the hundreds place. The 2 is in the ones, the 7 is in the tens, and the 4 is in the hundreds. So we will circle the 4. Step 2 tells us to look to the right. When we look to the right, we see a 7. So when we look for our rounding rules, 7 would be 5 or more. So it tells the circle digit to go up 1. The circle digit is a 4, so if it goes up 1, it will become a 5. Step 3 tells us that everything after the circle digit becomes a 0. So the 7 becomes a 0, and the 2 becomes a 0. So 472 rounds to 500 when rounded to the nearest 100. Let's practice rounding to the nearest 100 again. We have the number 981, and we will circle the digit in the hundreds place. Ones, tens, hundreds would be the 9. We look next door to the right and we see an 8. When we look at our rounding rules, the 8 would be 5 or more, so it tells the circle digit to go up 1. The circle digit is a 9, so this is a little tricky. The 9 becomes a 10. The 2 digits after the circle digit, the 8, will become a 0, and the 1 will become a 0. So 981 rounded to the nearest 100 would be 1,000. Now let's learn how to round 3-digit numbers to the nearest 10. We added step 4 onto the rules here, and as I go through the example, you will see how to do step 4. So the first thing we need to do for step 1 is identify the digit. So we are rounding to the nearest 10, so we will circle the tens place. The 0 is in the tens place. Step 2 tells us to look next door to the right. Make sure you are looking to the right. And we have an 8. When we look at our rounding rules, the 8 would be 5 or more, so it tells the circle digit to go up 1. So the circle digit is a 0, it goes up 1, and it becomes a 1. Step 3 tells us anything after the circle digit becomes a 0, so the 8 becomes a 0. And the new step, step 4, anything before the circle digit just always stays the same. You always just copy whatever that digit is. So the 2 stays a 2. So 208 rounds to 210. Let's try another one, rounding to the nearest 10, a 3-digit number. So we will circle the tens place, which is the 7, and we look next door to the right and we have a 4. When we look at our rounding rules, the 4 would be 4 or less, so the circle digit is going to stay the same. So the 7 stays a 7. Step 3 tells us everything after the circle digit becomes a 0. So the 4 becomes a 0. And step 4 tells us to just copy down whatever comes before the circle digit. So the 9 stays a 9. So 974 rounds to 970 when rounded to the nearest 10. Let's try one more rounding a 3-digit number to the nearest 10. So we have the number 315. Step 1 tells us to circle the digit that we are rounding to. So the tens place would be the 1. Step 2 tells us to look to the right, and we have a 5. When we look at our rounding rules, 5 would be 5 or more, so the circle digit is going to go up 1, so the 1 becomes a 2. Step 3 tells us everything after the circle digit becomes a 0, so the 5 becomes a 0. And step 4 tells us to just copy down whatever comes before the circle digit. So the 3 stays a 3. So 315 rounds to 320. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped. Check out my Teaching Exchange Classroom for worksheets and centers, and download the Rounding Nearest 10 and 100 bundle for more practice with this concept.